Buongiorno and welcome back to our sessions. I have decided that I needed to delete one video about Passato Prossimo because I listened to it and I almost fell asleep. So I deleted it. And I have decided to make another one. I've just noticed a movement behind. We have a cat. We have a cat and a dog. If you're lucky, they may appear on the screen. Otherwise, they just keep sleeping. Anyway, so let's see what to do with Passato Prossimo. And hopefully this video will not make anyone fall asleep, including myself, which is quite serious. Let's share the document that I have prepared. And we'll start again. If you find some, I think probably my very first videos, yeah, they may be a little bit boring. I'll have a look at all of them, and I might redo them, record them slightly differently. Right. So, passato prossimo. Obviously, passato prossimo is a tense that we use for the past. And they would be in English, the simple past or the present perfect. The simple past is when we say, I did, I went, I worked, I walked, I ate. Present perfect, I have done, I have gone, I have worked, I have eaten. So that is the translation for vice versa, in whichever way we're translating from passato prossimo in Italian into English or from English into the passato prossimo. I assume you know the difference in English when to use the simple past and the present perfect. I have noticed that a little bit of languages in general change, or more than the language is how people use their own language. So sometimes I think that instead of using the present perfect, some people choose to use the simple past, also because it is normal when you hear something, you just repeat it. And it is a big shame, I think, that in most schools, at least in the UK, I'm not sure about other countries, English-speaking countries. Do you learn grammar in school? I'm actually very curious, and please let me know. Do they teach grammar, English grammar, in the US, in New Zealand, in Australia? I am really curious. Unfortunately, this is not done enough in the UK. And this is one of the reasons why it's quite difficult, or it is more difficult to learn another language. Because if you don't know your own, it's more difficult to relate to the grammar of a foreign language. Anyway, that is aside. Today we are going to talk about regular verbs, how to conjugate regular verbs in the passato prossimo. So I will refer mainly to regular verbs also in English. So how do we do the past in English, the simple past in particular? As you can see here, the simple past in English, you just add ed to the present. Here I've written a couple of examples. Walk, I walk every day, or I walked in the past every day. So you only added ed. in here at the top, I've added some other examples, but these are not regular verbs, but just to see the difference between the simple past and the present perfect. So the ed in English corresponds in Italian to these endings. As you know, we have three groups of verbs, the ones ending in are, which are most of them, the ones ending in ere, and the ones ending in ire. So the verbs in are will become ato, mangiare, mangiato. The verbs in ere will become uto, avere, avuto. The verbs in ire will become ito, partire, partito, capire, capito, for example. Something that comes in mind now, many verbs which are irregular in one tense are not necessarily irregular in another tense. One example is the one that I've used, avere, which is irregular in most tenses, but not in the passato prossimo. Avere, as I said, becomes avuto. So these are the endings. The verbs in are all regular. So I'm going to say 99% or most. I don't want to say 100%, but most of them, or almost all of them, will become ato. When it comes to the verbs in ere and the verbs in ire, there are many irregular verbs. So they will have different endings. They will not be like these ones. An example in English, as I said, the regular verbs in English, you add ed for the regular verbs. However, in the examples that I've used here, the verb to do, you don't add ed for the past. It changes, it becomes I did. The verb to go, you don't add ed. I won't even try to pronounce it with ed. Becomes I went. Same for the present perfect. I have done, I have gone. So these are irregular. As I said, I've used them only to show you the difference between the two tenses in English. So now we've done the difference or comparison, how to translate passato prossimo into English, which tenses you use. We have seen the endings for the regular verbs, remember. Let's go to the next step. So the construction of passato prossimo is made of two parts of the verb. In fact, literally, the construction of passato prossimo is like the present perfect in English. I have done, I have gone, I have walked, I have eaten. So you always have two parts. One is the verb to have, always, and then you have the participle of the main verb you want to use in the past. So the principle is the same in Italian. However, in Italian, for certain verbs, we use have. For other verbs, we use be, to be. So we use avere or essere. There are rules. Obviously, you don't just decide, I'm going to use this one or the other. There are rules. We're going to keep the rules for now a little bit more general. I'll just mention some others rules, but as I said, we'll keep it as general as possible at the moment. We are just going to look at the endings mainly. So in general, we can say that we use avere when after the verb we have someone or something. For example, I saw someone. or I saw something. We use avere. I ate something. I washed something. We can wash someone as well, a baby, a dog. Instead, we use essere when we have somewhere afterwards. And to be even more specific, when it is not possible to have someone or something after the verb. For example, partire, which is to leave, to depart. You leave to go somewhere. You depart to go somewhere. So you depart somewhere. It doesn't sound fantastic in English. You go somewhere. You arrive somewhere. You cannot arrive someone. You cannot arrive something. You can only arrive somewhere. And in fact, I will say this now when it comes to avere, because then it becomes, but I visited somewhere, I ate somewhere. Yes, of course, everything happens somewhere, but you visited something or someone that was somewhere. What did I use? Visit. I used something else that I can't remember. I saw someone or something which was somewhere, obviously. But if you keep in mind that if after a verb you absolutely cannot have someone or something, you can only have somewhere, that's when you use essere. And instead, when you do have the option of using someone somewhere, sorry, someone or something, that's when you use avere. I may have confused you, but if I have, please put in the comment or ask questions and I will clarify it. The way to clarify it is to give you more examples, which I'm very happy to do. I just don't want to make the video too long. However, I can add to it in a separate video. Now, once we know when we need to use avere or we need to use essere to conjugate the verb passato prossimo, let's see what happens when we have conjugated it. So I've chosen the verbs mangiare. Mangiare, you eat something. And that's why we're going to use the verb avere. I have eaten something. So as you can see, this is the first person singular. I have eaten, literally. However, you can translate it both with I have eaten and also with I ate. It is exactly the same. When it comes to partire, you have somewhere, you have a destination. We are using essere. Sono partito. I left, I departed. However, unfortunately, this becomes a little bit more complicated because when we're using essere, we also need the agreement between the endings and whoever is talking or whoever we are talking to or about. As you can see, I've put all the endings, so all the different options. Sono partito means I left, I departed, but this when a man is talking, a male is talking. Sono partita when a female is talking, singular. Instead, siamo partiti, plural, masculine, and siamo partite, plural, feminine. So yes, there are a lot of things to think about, especially when you need to use essere for the conjugation of the verb. A little recap. So passato prossimo in Italian translates both simple past and present perfect in English, and the other way around. We are talking about regular verbs. In English, you add ed to the verb. In Italian, we add atto for the verbs in are, uto for most verbs in ere, many are irregular, and same for ito, which is which is the ending for the verbs in ire. However, there are many irregular verbs which we are not covering here. We're only talking about regular. When we are constructing this passato prossimo, the construction of passato prossimo is like the construction of the present perfect in English, where you have the verb to have. In English, you only use the verb to have as auxiliary, meaning it helps this verb to have helps to construct this tense. And then it's followed by the participle of the main verb. So this is the structure. So we always have two parts, let's call them, two bits of the verb. The difference here is that in English, you always use have. In Italian, sometimes we use to have, sometimes to be. To have, we use it when we have someone or something after the verb. For example, to open something, open a door, for example, to drink something, to visit someone or something, to watch something, visit someone or something. We use essere when we have somewhere, meaning a destination or a place. And so, for example, you will use it for verbs where we are going somewhere, arriving, entering, exit, or when we stay somewhere, we remain somewhere. So when, let's say there is a destination, a place. And here we have examples of how to actually construct the verbs. With avere, you conjugate the verb to have according to the person, and then we add the verb, as we said, like mangiato, ape. Oh, there is not a regular. Mangiato, camminato, lavorato, etc. In this case, the endings always ending or, it doesn't change. Instead, when we are using essere with the verbs that we said before, we have the agreement with person and with the number. So is it masculine, feminine? Is it singular or plural? And that's when we have the 4 different options of endings. So here we have partito, so masculine or feminine singular, masculine or feminine plural. I hope this is clearer than the previous one, hopefully. In fact, I'm almost hoping that you didn't see the previous one. I did, unfortunately. I watched it again. Oh, fortunately, I watched it again. Hopefully this is clear. Hopefully this has helped you. If you need more clarifications, please leave a comment, ask me more questions, more examples. And I'll take this opportunity to ask you to like the videos, to subscribe, press the bell so you get the notification when I upload new videos, and share the videos if you know somebody that you think may benefit from these videos. And I thank you again for following the videos, commenting, subscribing, and do let me know again where where are you listening from, why are you learning Italian, and in the especially not only, not necessarily only these ones, but in particular, I am interested in the English because I'm using English to explain it, to explain in these sessions. Did you learn grammar of your own language in your country when you were at school? Because normally in Italy, we always learn grammar. We start learning grammar from the age of 8 years old, and we keep repeating the grammar and going in depth in the grammar. So we know normally, sorry about the cough, and normally we know the grammar of our language. Which makes it a little bit easier when we're studying another language to understand at least, the parts of sentence. It doesn't help with the pronunciation or with speaking or understanding, but we're very good at writing and reading. That's another thing. Anyway, so I will say bye for now, and I will see you on our next session. Arrivederci. Ciao.